Every farm has a story. When it comes to dairy farming, these stories are often only heard by the animals raised, the land stewarded, and the family that makes it all possible. Join me, Dairy Gal Val, as I interview individuals from across the dairy industry, both within the United States and across the globe, discussing topics like farm management, the food industry, ag business and technology, and most importantly, their farm story. This is the Dairy Hour Podcast. Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's episode of the Dairy Hour Podcast. My name is Val Levine, or Dairy Gal Val, as you may know me on social media. And this episode is brought to you by BoviSync, an independent employee-owned company that is focused on providing herd management solutions through their easy-to-use software by streamlining and simplifying daily processes for a more profitable operation. For more information, go to bovisync.com. And I have a very special guest, which we actually alluded to on the episode with Sammy Mendoza. I have Bieke de Bruin, who also does work for BoviSync, but that's not her main focus of being here. Bieke is actually currently in Denmark. Bieke, how are you today?
Good, Val. Thank you. And thanks for having me on the podcast.
I'm very excited to dig into your story. And it was so great. Like Sammy, I actually met you at World Dairy Expo at the Dairy Girl Network Exchange event. And I think we hit it off pretty good over wine and cheese and had a lot of fun. And thankfully, you decided that you could come on the podcast. And so, Bieke, if you want to talk a little bit about what you do currently, where you're living, what your day to day looks like right now.
Yeah, so as you mentioned earlier, I am working for BoviSync. I have been for 5 years. And for the last 2.5 years or so, well, 2.5 years, I've been based out of Denmark. So kind of developing the international market, understanding some of the different countries we're working in, how their dairy industries are working, and how we can develop our software to fit better into these specific countries so that we can be more successful. So my day to day, in the mornings, I try to do some stuff on the farm here at home when needed. So that's either helping with feeding calves or helping take the cows around or just some of the normal morning chores. And then after breakfast, I'll sit down at my computer and talk to the people I need to talk to. And then at
So,
the end of the day, I also try to get back out to the farm just to keep moving a little bit.
so is most of your job with BoviSync is mostly via the computer, or are you doing some farm visits in Europe? How does that work?
Yeah, so a lot of it is remotely, so which is really nice because I can be really flexible with my hours. Um, but I do also travel quite a bit. Last year, I traveled almost every other week, and that got to be a bit too much. So I've toned that down a little bit this year, and it's been about one, like a week-long trip every month. Um, yeah.
So, like, what's a week long trip look like for you? So, what's one that you're going on or going to be going on soon?
Um, I actually don't think I have anyone's scheduled for the near future. There's a bunch of tentative ones. Um, and that can be a bit frustrating sometimes to get things scheduled because it's tentative for so long, and then all of a sudden the week or 2 weeks before you find out like, oh, I guess I have to plan this trip and make sure that I'm there.
Yeah.
Really notice.
Yeah, no, I get that. So, like, are you spending that in one country, or are you bouncing from country to country a little bit within that time?
That completely depends on how far the initial travel is. So Um, like if I have to fly to Italy, for example, for me, that's only a 2.5 hour flight. So I drive to the airport, fly to Italy, usually on a Sunday night or a Monday morning. And then I'll be there for the week working with our distributor. And then I'll be able to come home Friday afternoon or Saturday morning again.
Well, that sounds terrible. Maybe you should take me next time.
Yeah, I know.
I just take a 2 hour flight to Italy. No big deal, right?
Yeah, I mean, you're more than welcome. I can't say too much about the planes I take because it's usually like the super budget airlines because they're the ones that offer the nonstop flights. But hey, a 2 hour flight to Italy, I cannot complain.
Yes, that's exactly it. Like you take what you get and you're going to Italy, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll ride on the floor if I have to. Just get me there.
Yeah.
So you mentioned a little bit about a farm and that you're on a farm. So do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so that's actually a quite recent development. So my boyfriend took over his family's dairy in May, so it's been 5 short but also very long months. And it's
Only a
been quite,
farmer can understand that, just so you know.
yeah, yeah. And before we were kind of around the farm anyway, because we live closer to the cows than his parents do, so we didn't have to move or anything, which was super nice. Um, but he took over all responsibility of everything on the farm in May. And we've been putting a lot of work in making some facility improvements, process changes, all while also trying to figure out ourselves what we're doing. So it's been challenging, but also quite rewarding.
Definitely. And how many are you guys milking?
So we're milking about 125 cows with 2 Laley robots.
Oh, very good.
And yeah, and we're currently building a new barn to improve the facilities for our dry cows and our young stock. But then the main priority of that barn is, well, I guess not the main priority, but the main purpose or the main reason we're building that barn is so that we can have a place to put the kitchen for the Lely Vector. So hopefully by the end of the year, all of our feeding will be automated also.
That'll be really cool. Technology is awesome how far it's come in just the past, 5 years, especially with all the robotics and things like that.
Yeah.
Um, it is fascinating. For those of you that are listening that are not familiar, if you go even just on YouTube and check out a Lily robot in action, they're like a box that the cows willingly go into. They get a little bit of grain. The machine automatically cleans them, milks them, puts like a post-dip on them, and then they go out the front of it when they're done milking. And I know a lot of people when they have robots say there's a lot of cows that want to go more than they're even allowed to, which is really great and just kind of attests to the fact that cows really do enjoy being milked and that it's such a great and low stress process for them.
Yeah.
I have a farm that I do work with that has Lily robots and I enjoy just watching the cows come in and do their thing and it just makes it so laid back in the barn, just them being able to kind of do what they want on their own schedule. So,
Yeah. And we actually just changed the concentrate that we feed in the robot. So we feed a combination of a pellet with like the minerals and the energy, and then also just barley
okay.
um, that we grow and harvest ourselves. We just put that into a silo and that gets fed directly into the robot. Um, but we just changed the pellet that we put in, and the cows really like this one. So the first couple days, there were 2 cows specifically that got rejected for milkings, like over 80 times each,
Oh my
because
gosh,
they just kept
pests.
circling through. Yeah. And of
At
course, they're the 2 friendliest cows on the farm. So
yes, aka pests. They
yeah,
just they just would not leave it be and let other cows get milked.
yeah,
So that's the
exactly.
only problem that you run into with that is that they spend so much time going in and being like, hello. And then the other
Yep.
cows don't have a chance to get in because those cows are just standing in there demanding all the things. So,
Yeah,
but
or
that's
they'll
really
push other
great.
cows away so that they have first access into the robot when it opens up again. It,
Oh dear. They are
yeah,
funny. So how
they
many
really
lilies
are.
did you say you have?
We were milking with 2 robots.
Two lilies. Very
Yeah,
good.
and they're the
Um,
A3 next generation.
very good. So, how many years was this? So you said it was your boyfriend's family. How many years have they had in the Lily robots?
So these robots are 13 years old already,
Wow. Very good.
and they're still, knock on wood, they're still going really well. Um, the cool thing in Denmark, Lely actually offers a service contract. So if you have signed that, then like you pay a flat fee over the year, and anytime that there's an issue, Lely will come out, and I think they have to be on farm within 2 hours.
Oh,
Doesn't matter the time of day, what day it is. They
yeah.
have to be there and come to fix it. And the service contract, like it covers the maintenance, but it also covers the parts and everything too. So it's actually really nice.
That is handy. It's like just like having a good service insurance almost type thing. I
Yeah,
think that they might offer something like that in the United States, but I don't know about the 2 hour rule. Some of the farms that have Lely robots, they're like more than 2 hours away from a Lely dealer. So that makes
right.
things a little bit tricky, but that
And
is
here, if
pretty
you drive
cool.
2 hours, you're already in Germany or you're way on the other side of the country. So,
See, so in the grand scheme of things, 2 hours, could be forever. No.
yeah,
Oh, that's awesome. And yeah, so when you do have robots too, you really don't want to be down for very long just because of the nature of how they're usually in work, 90% of the day, and the other, what, 7 to 10% they're washing. So um
right.
time is of the essence when you have robots. I definitely get that. So I guess I want to take it back. You did not grow up in Denmark, which we've alluded to. Do you want to talk about where you grew up and maybe any ties to agriculture that you may have had growing up?
Yeah. Well, get ready. This is not a short story. We're gonna hop around the world a little bit. So, I was born in the Netherlands. My parents were, well, they had a dairy farm in the Netherlands, and due to the city expanding, the city wanted to buy our land, our farm. So they kind of bought us out, if you will.
So, what
Um,
city is that?
it was a small, I say
Okay.
city, but it was a small town in the south of the Netherlands.
Okay.
Um, but that was growing. So they're like, hey, we want your land. And my parents were like, no. And then they said, hey, we really want your land, take this money. And my parents still were kind of like, no, we don't really want to do that. And then they just said, okay, we're gonna take your land, take this money. Good
The
luck.
good the good news is that when they said, "Hey, we're taking this whether you want us to or not," they still gave them money because
Yeah.
like that could have gone really bad and been like, "All right, fine, you didn't want to take the money, like, all right, we're taking your land, beat it."
Yeah. Yeah, but my dad, he was always involved in the dairy industry in the Netherlands. He was involved in the national organization, the Holstein organization. He helped with shows. I think he was one of the first people to import embryos from the US into the Netherlands. So he's always kind of been a forerunner in the industry, on the cow side of things. And I've always
That's
looked up
good.
to him for that. But when we had to move from the Netherlands, we moved to New Zealand,
Oh,
where
plot
we had a
twist.
dairy. Yeah, where we had a dairy for three, just over 3 years. I can't be super certain on this one because I was 5 until like 8 years old when we were there, so don't have too many memories outside of school and like the small, like at home or on the farm memories that you make as a kid.
The best ones,
Um,
yes.
right, the best ones. So I remember like going to school. We went to a Catholic school there, and we had these hideous uniforms. Um, and yeah, and like we had to take like recorder classes and science classes and English classes because when we moved there, like I didn't know any English. So as a 5-year-old, you just go to a new school where you can't even understand the people.
That's
But
scary.
yeah, my sister was with me, so she's a year and a half younger than me. So we kind of went through that together. But luckily there was another Dutch family in the area that moved there around the same time, and they had boys around my age that were also in this English learning class. So like we could just all kind of hang out and learn English together, which was pretty
Makes it
nice.
easier. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and then I remember a couple of years later that my parents told us that we were going to be moving to Ohio.
Oh,
Yeah. And I went to school and I told my friends, I'm like, hey, friends, we're moving to Ohio. And they're like, oh, that's so far away. That's like a 45-minute drive. And
oh
then I
yeah,
thought,
that's just a
oh,
little 45-minute drive.
yeah. And I was like, oh, it's only 45 minutes. That's not that bad. Um, Joke's on me. We were moving to like the other side of the world. It's like the Ohio, the state in the
Yeah,
US.
literally the other side of the world. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh gosh.
And like since then I've been able to like keep touch with some of those friends on Facebook. So thank you, social media, for that kind of stuff.
Definitely.
Um, but it was just like thinking back to that, like Ohio only being 45 minutes away.
And
And
then you
it's
get on a
just
plane and you're like, but why do we need a plane for 45 minutes away?
yeah. And it's like, why is it taking more than a day on a plane?
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
So, and you were how old when you guys moved to Ohio?
I was 8.
8. Okay. So
Yeah.
you're 8, you're moving to Ohio.
Yep. I started middle school. No, not middle school. Intermediate school it was at the time. Um, and I remember like getting picked on because I talked funny. Of course, it's with a New Zealand accent. Um, as you can hear, I've lost that now. But yeah, there was just lots of instances where like I would just get picked on because I said the wrong word or yeah. Looking
Yeah.
back, it's a very small thing, but at the time it seemed like a really big deal when you're
Yes.
8 years
And
old.
well, 8-year-olds can be so nasty. I have 2 of them at the moment. So I know all about
Oh,
how the chatter factories go. Um,
okay.
and how they, yeah, I definitely understand that. So when you guys moved to Ohio, I mean, you said you dairied in New Zealand, and
Yep.
then what did you do when you got to Ohio?
So the reason we moved to Ohio is there was actually an investment opportunity where there was a guy that was bringing in Dutch dairy farmers into like the Michigan, Ohio, Indiana area and helping them either start dairy farms, build dairy farms, pretty much like helping them with the bulk of the investment to get into the country, get all the visa paperwork organized, and just live the American dream.
Yes.
Um, Sounds a really pretty picture, but he ended up not being as nice as that
Ugh.
story sounded, and a lot of people went back to the Netherlands with nothing, or yeah, he was not a very good guy.
So what did your family end up doing?
So we actually got out of it kind of lucky.
So
Um,
you did start dairying though.
we did.
Okay.
In Ohio, we built a dairy for 2,500 cows. We started milking, I believe, in 2006 when the milk price was like 26, $27 a hundredweight.
Yep.
Yep. And it was just going really well. And we had a direct load,
Okay.
and there were times where the trucks couldn't like drive quick enough to pick up the tankers, so they were just overflowing
Ugh.
on the
Yep.
lot, which is a shame when, well, of course it's always a shame, but
And
it
you're
seemed
working so
worse
hard
when it
for it.
was, yeah, but it seemed even worse when it was $27 a hundredweight. You just see it flowing up the tank. Like,
Yeah,
oh,
that too.
nice.
Yes.
Uh, but then at one point, someone from this investment group came to my dad and said, "Hey, this is your manager now." And this is like overly simplified, of course. But they came in and said, "Hey, this is your manager now. You have to listen to what he says." And my dad kind of like talked back to him and
Uh-oh.
said, "That's not what we agreed on. We, like you said, you would be a silent investor and I would manage everything on the operation." And then, long story short, my dad pretty much just said, either you step out or I step out. So he made the decision to step out with the equity that we had in it. Um, Luckily, because many people didn't even have that chance, which was very unfortunate. But then we took that and bought a 200 cow dairy in Wisconsin. So another step. Um, and then that's the dairy in Wisconsin is pretty much where I consider where I grew up because I was 13 at the time, finishing middle school, going into high school, and that's really when you actually start understanding the world around you. And it was a small enough dairy that we could actually be involved with the daily tasks and feed the calves, milk the cows, everything that the kids do on the farm, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
definitely.
and then there were times where mom and dad had to take a trip for something, and then it was just us kids taking care of the farm, and we felt so cool that we could do that. And it was just a really proud moment for all of us. It happened quite a few
Yes.
times actually, and it's just so fun. Um, and then after that, well, I guess when I was there, I was involved in like junior Holstein,
Oh, very
4-H,
good.
FFA, all that kind of stuff. And then I graduated high school and went to the University of Wisconsin at Madison. Spent 4 years there getting a bachelor's degree in dairy science. Um,
So you knew
involved,
right off the bat that you wanted to be something in dairy.
yeah, without a doubt. I don't know what I would do else.
She
But
had the
also
passion.
I just I just love dairy. I just love cows. Like whenever I have a bad day or have spent a full day at the computer for my job, I just need a few moments in the barn. I just need some love from the cows and then everything's
Yes,
fine again.
I 100% agree with that. Sometimes I just, if I'm like having a day, I go walk through the feed alley of the barn and it's like you're peaceful. Like,
Yeah.
yep, I feel
Some
that.
people do yoga, some people meditate, and like I just need a cow.
I hug a cow, it's fine.
Yeah, I actually did yesterday too.
That's
Um,
awesome.
yeah.
So you went to university at Madison.
Yep.
Okay.
I was involved in some dairy stuff there, extracurriculars, and then I also was a part of the marching band.
Oh,
So
fun. What did you
not
play?
dairy related. I played trumpet.
Okay, so the recorder did not stick from New Zealand.
No. No. But I did start playing clarinet in middle school. So I played that through high school, and then I decided to teach myself trumpet just before trying out for the band at Madison. Just because the odds of getting in on trumpet were much greater than the odds of getting in on clarinet,
There
because
you
there were
go.
something like 150 odd trumpets and then only like 20 clarinets. So I thought, okay, we're just gonna give this a shot. So I'm not very good, but I made it, and it was a lot of
Hey,
fun.
you were good
Yeah,
enough to get by.
yeah. And then after college, so I should back up a little bit. In my capstone course at Madison, um, David Cook actually came in and spoke about BoviSync,
David Cook is the
the founder.
founder and owner of BoviSync. Yes.
Yeah. So he came in and spoke about BoviSync, and at the time, I'm like, okay, cool, another herd management software. We had learned so much about other programs already. Here's just another one to add to the list. But this one was different. I could tell that right from the beginning that it did just look a little nicer. It looked easier to use, and yeah. So after graduation, I was going through my college notes and cleaning up things because I was like, well, I don't want to take all this stuff with me if I'm never going to use it again. And I came across my BoviSync notes. I'm like, hey, I should reach out to them. That was kind of interesting. So I did, and I got a job there like a few months after graduation, and I've really been there ever since. Um,
So you
yeah.
started working back for BoviSync, and then how did you end up back in Europe?
Ooh, I don't know if you've heard about the immigration system in the US. It's
Oh,
great. So this whole time that I lived in the US, we had to deal with visas.
mm-hmm.
So until I was 21, I was fortunate enough to be under the umbrella of my parents' visa.
Yep.
And then when I turned 21, which was right before my senior year of college, I had to leave the country, apply for a student visa from Amsterdam, and then fly back into the US. So I actually started my last year of school a few weeks late because
Oh, because
of
you had to get
the
back.
timing of the bureaucracy and the paperwork and all that stuff. It was a nightmare. Um, so then I got a student visa for my last year, was able to finish school. And then from that student visa, I had like a 1 year optional practical training that I could do if it was directly related to my major. So that's pretty much saying, hey, if you find a job that fits your major, you can work in the US. So
Yep.
I did that for 1 year. And then because it was science-based, I was able to extend that 2 more years. And then during that time, BoviSync, of course, tried to apply for a work visa for me, but that's a lottery.
Yep.
So you have like only 1/3 of the applications actually even get looked at. And then from that, they like pretty much say yes or no. I never got into the lucky 1/3. And then after, so 3 years after graduation, like my luck just kind of ran out. So kind of had to leave the US anyway, because I'd like to have the option to come back to visit and not just say like
Yes,
I'm gonna
you're out.
overstay, and if I get caught, then I'm like not allowed back in for 10 years or so.
Oh yeah, we don't want to do that. Now, are your
No,
parents still here?
no, my parents are in Germany.
Oh, your parents are in
So
Germany now.
yeah, so I moved to Denmark, and BoviSync was lucky enough to keep me employed with
Yep.
them, keep me working with them. Um, so I'm still working with BoviSync. My parents are in Germany managing a dairy. My brothers are actually with them, and then my sister decided to continue her education. So she just got a master's in dairy food engineering in France.
Oh, very cool.
So we're all back on this side of the pond.
They're very good. That was a lot of bouncing around. I love it. Um,
Yeah,
but you seem like you're content there in Denmark. Hopefully
very
Denmark
much
doesn't
so.
kick you out anytime soon, right?
I hope not. I might leave because the weather here kind of sucks, but
Oh, well, yeah. We have that in
yeah,
the US too, but sometimes you just like the location enough to deal with it,
and
I
the
guess.
people. Yeah.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So that was an amazing story, Bieke. I really appreciate that. So now I just like to ask a few fun questions just to get to know you.
But,
So you have been all over the world. What is your favorite country that you've either lived in or visited?
ooh. Um, well, of course, Italy is just, I just love Italy. Good people, incredible food,
That's what
coffee,
I was just
wine,
gonna
I
say.
mean,
Food.
cheese,
Yes,
pasta, pizza. It's all fantastic.
all of it.
Uh, but two countries that really surprised me when I first visited there were Poland and Morocco.
Oh, very cool.
Um, I have to admit, I wasn't super excited to visit them at first, but both places really blew me away. And I would definitely recommend them to people if they're looking for a new destination to go to.
That's awesome. And what is your favorite dairy product?
Ice cream. No, cheese. All
Oh,
of them.
are
Oh,
you're are you torn between ice cream and cheese like I am? If someone
I
asks me
am.
that,
I
I'm always
am.
like, I really love cheese, but I would die without ice cream, so I don't know what to do.
Yeah, I mean, I eat cheese every day. There's not a day that goes by that I don't have cheese.
Good.
But ice cream, like, I don't think I could live without ice cream, but that's like more of a treat kind of thing.
Yeah, I go for the almost everyday ice cream more than I should, just because, you know,
Hey, treat
you got to
yourself.
do what you got to do, right?
Yeah,
So,
support the dairy
awesome.
industry.
Yes, awesome. Bieke, if people want to find and connect with you, how can they find you?
Yeah, so it's just my name, and Val told me that that'll be in the
It'll be in
show
the
notes.
show notes for you. Yep.
Yeah. I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Facebook
Perfect.
and Instagram. I don't really post a whole lot, but I'm there.
But check her out on LinkedIn. That's more of her professional profile.
Yeah,
And yeah, Bieke, it was a pleasure to talk with you today, and get to know more about your story and I guess travel the world with you. I mean, that's yeah, that's really, really fascinating how you just the story of how you ended up all over the place. So I really appreciate
thanks,
you coming
Val.
on and sharing your story. Again, coincidentally, this episode is brought to you by BoviSync, bovisync.com for more information. And if you love the podcast, please share it with a friend, leave us a review, and tag us on social media. Have a lovely day. Thank you for joining us. Thank you so much for listening to today's podcast. Please be sure to subscribe to be notified of future episodes and leave a review. You can find me on most social media platforms at Dairy Gal Val or online at dairygalval.com. Thank you so much for coming to the Dairy Hour.